Happy New Year again, Date Nighters, Friday Nighters, whatever you want to call yourself.
Happy New Year's. Friday night.
We still got lights.
2022. I know, it looks like it.
I always want lights.
It looks like we're still in
Lights all year.
celebratory mode.
You know, they should be like pink and red, because usually this is when I transition to like Valentine wintry lights.
Ooh.
I still got reindeers on though.
You do.
It's okay. Reindeer are an animal. They are not seasonal. They're an animal, aren't they? Do they die and like after Christmas and come back in December?
It could be a Valentine's anyway.
See, yeah, because it's got like little cute little whatevers.
It's got.
And my pants are pink. You just can't see it.
There you go. So we're ready. So this is a New Year's Valentine's edition.
No,
it is because we're going out.
We're talking about.
Again.
We're going to talk about prostitutes.
We're going to talk about love.
Prostitutes.
We're going to talk about God's love via prostitution. That should have everybody's going. They've lost it. It's a new year.
So I should show them my boots.
That's right.
Oh my gosh. Anyway.
All right. Are you ready?
To all the people that think we're heathens
and
turned us off.
There you go.
We're going rogue again. We're leaving Mark.
Okay, let's do it.
We're going to Hosea.
One of my favorite stories.
Do you guys know what that is? Where it is? Go to Mark. Go left. Left a few times. And then you'll find Hosea.
Just find Daniel.
And then go right. And then go right.
Go right. You can get there multiple ways.
Hosea. All right. I guess we're just going to start in chapter 1.
I bet you don't get very far. Here we go. Go.
Are you going to read them?
No, because you get stuck when you read. You just have to stop when you get stuck. That's the deal.
Stop when I get stuck.
All right.
All right. Ready. Hosea. The word of the Lord that came unto Hosea, the son of Berai, in the days of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah, and in the days of Jeroboam, the son of Joash, king of Israel. The beginning of the word of the Lord by Hosea. And the Lord said to Hosea, What?
Just laughing.
Why? Are you stuck already?
I'm stuck on Hosea, just in general. So, no,
these
just
poor people.
Just waiting for you to keep going. I told you we'll stop when you get stuck.
Go, take unto thee a wife of whoredoms and children of whoredoms, for the land hath committed great whoredom, departing from the Lord.
Is that where you're stuck finally? That took you a long time, actually.
Well, I mean, we should discuss this.
Oh, okay.
Like, why? We should discuss why. This is the thing. Like, why God would say to this guy... Okay, well, he says, for the land has committed a great whoredom, departing from the Lord. But why would he tell Hosea to go and take a wife of whoredoms? So can we just, like...
Can we back up?
What?
Oh, thank you.
To what?
Right, so look at verse 2.
Can we back up?
Yeah, look at verse 2 again. Read it for me. Read the beginning of it.
The beginning of the word of the Lord by Hosea.
So my version says, when the Lord first spoke through Hosea, the Lord said to Hosea. So, can you imagine? Because you can. Imagine that the first time that you hear from the Lord, right? So I just read this morning, right? Go flip back to Job. Actually, I'm doing chronological reading this year. So I
went too far.
I am in Genesis, right? But it's chronological. So like Genesis chapter 11 ends, and then Job comes all of a sudden appears, right? Okay, can you start in verse 14?
What chapter?
Actually, start in 33. Sorry, 33. You're there. Look at that. You already knew.
Well, yeah, but they don't know.
All right, 33. Chapter 33. Start in verse 12.
Verse 12.
Yep.
Job 33:12. Behold, in this thou art not just. I will answer thee that God is greater than man. Why dost thou strive against him? For he giveth not account of any of his masters. For God speaketh once, yea, twice, yet man perceive it not. In a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falleth upon men, in slumberings upon the bed, then he openeth the ears of men and seal their instruction, that he may withdraw from man his purpose and hide pride from man. He keepeth back his soul from the pit and his life from perishing by the sword.
Okay, so So Job's friend is talking to him, says that like this, God speaks different ways. He goes on to talk about some different ways that God speaks to people, right? But it's always with the same purpose, right? Trying really hard to keep you from the pit. That's God's purpose. So he'll give people dreams, and he'll give people visions, and he'll speak in words, and he'll speak in what's around him, right? But can you imagine that the very first time that God speaks through you, this is the story? Right? Can you imagine what, we think all the time, we go to church, we go to Sunday school, we grew up in it, we're used to hearing about God, and then God says something to us directly, and we're like, whoa, did I really hear from the Lord? And we go check it in 15 different sources, and hey, did Hosea, the very first time that God speaks to him, this is the story. Right, this is what you need to do.
Yeah, go pick up a prostitute.
Go pick up a prostitute, right? How crazy is that, right? That's what happened, but how crazier is it that he believed and he did it?
No, so it goes, for the land has committed great whoredom, departing from the Lord, period. So he went and took Gomer, daughter of Diblaim, which conceived and bare him a son.
Yeah.
There was no I should go check with my church, and that sounds crazy. Maybe I should ask all the other prophets that are around right now.
So look at that. I mean, same
but
thing.
nobody did that.
But when did Moses first hear from God? Out in a burning bush, right? There's all of these people. First Gideon, where did he hear from God? When he's threshing in a grape wine press, type of thing. These people didn't have God talking. Well,
because they didn't have the Holy Spirit.
Right. All of a sudden, the Holy Spirit falls on them, and boom, they're forced into acting. We get tons of time. Hey, I'm trying to get your attention, right? But here it is that Hosea gets this the very first time. This is the message that God gives him, right? But we would think that this is weird. We would think that God's not.
No, that's how they knew it was God.
That's exactly right.
I think. I mean, because I don't know.
But you look at this in tune with Job, right? What's the purpose it said there? It's so that people will back away from the pit. The people will get away from the pit. Why is God sending visions and words and dreams and things like that? He's not doing it for no reason. He's doing it because he wants you to pay attention, right? He wants you to get it. So this whole book of Hosea is that point. He's trying to get the people away from the pit.
Right.
You're about ready to go over, right? Get this. Please get this.
Right. But like we said the other night, this was 30 years before it actually happened.
Yep.
Right? But that's close as far as I'm concerned with everything else he does. That's real close. Because everything else is hundreds of years or thousands of years or whatever. He really warns forever and ever and ever. And this is we talked about this so many times. This is the problem.
Yeah.
The problem is that he warns for so long, and he does this for so long that people just, they forget, or they think it's a joke, or they don't take it seriously because they don't know him. That's the problem, right? We said the other night, he says later in chapter 4 that my people shall perish for lack of knowledge. So it's not knowledge of the prophecy. It's not knowledge of the judgment.
Yep.
Right? Because people hear it. They know it.
Yeah.
It's knowledge of him, right? And that's why we hear these things, and the perishing for lack of knowledge is the fact that we don't know God well enough to know that this is his process.
Yeah, amen.
We don't know him well enough to know that he's going to take 30 years and tell you this. He's going to take 50 years and tell you this. He's going to give you lots of time.
Yep.
You don't need to be scared for. See, this is the problem. I watched this at the beginning of the whole Rona scandal. I'm not calling it a pandemic because it's fake. In 2020, the whole thing when it started, right? Lots of people. Oh my gosh! Wait, the world might be ending. Where's Revelation? I need to read it real quick. Yeah, God, I need you, and I'm really scared. And well, it's March, and I think the rapture might come in September. And then September comes. Oh yeah, it was nothing. Yeah. And then, right? We're back to normal. Oh, I don't need God anymore. It must have been a false alarm. And it's no big deal. And yeah, we're good. And yeah, okay, I'm just going to go back to normal because, I was scared for a minute. And now I realized that nothing was really going to happen. And that is the biggest deception of the enemy.
Yeah, we the false alarm thing. See, now I'm stuck on that because what a great topic and concept that is in Christianity. Like God is constantly warning ahead, constantly telling us about things, right? People text us, they call us, they message us, they whatever us, they TikTok us.
They TikTok
right?
us.
They TikTok us and they give us a message of warning or a message of, hey, I don't know why, but God really laid me on your heart and I'm praying for you, right? And so then we start looking around immediately going, okay, where's the danger? Where's the danger? I'm not in the street. Well, I'm at home in bed.
Could you imagine? Like, if it did happen that way and you missed the text message?
Yeah.
You'd be screwed.
Sorry, I tried to warn you.
Oh, yeah, you snooze, you lose. You're doomed.
But God warns
Yeah, God's
ahead.
not like that.
He warns ahead. I want it to be about that day. Okay, what's happening today? But so many times God gives us a whole slew of warning. Guys, you're not getting this. You're not getting this. Warning, 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 warning. Then he does it. Right? Then he allows something to happen, right? But part of the warning stage is not just to warn us, like, watch out, watch out. It's to be prepared for that, right? Listen, if you told me, Annie, somebody's going to punch you today, right, in the face, it's a pretty easy thing for me. I don't walk around with some kind of a cement box around my head and just say to people, go ahead. I don't care how stupid I look. I don't care how dumb I look. Go ahead, punch me. Somebody's going to punch me and they're going to break their hand doing it, right? It's the same, like we're warned, so and we want to pray up something around our head. Like God's saying, Annie, the enemy's going to punch you today. He's going to punch you soon. He's going to punch you. We pray up so that we put that around us, that protection, so that when he does, he breaks his hand.
I think it's, again, twofold at minimum, because God does not just do one thing for one reason. But, not only does he not want you to perish, right? He doesn't want you to get caught up and miss the warning. But every single person, unless they're demented, okay, who gets a warning, like, hey, tsunami tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow. Everyone is going to act accordingly. Everyone is going to cry, Lord, Lord, right?
Yeah.
So if you have 30 years of knowing that warning, does God get to see if you really mean it?
That's exactly right.
Or if it's just fire insurance.
Well, is it about faith? Right?
Is it about doing the right thing? Is it about actually loving him and actually repenting? Or is it about save my butt?
That's exactly right, right? We talk about that, crises, church fillings, like all the time, right? 9/11 happens, and for 3 weeks, churches are filled. Right? Something else happens and churches are filled.
It wears off.
Here's the problem where we are right now with this coronavirus thing. Churches aren't filled. Right? We're in a crisis and people aren't running to the church. Right? They're running to medical. So you're finally, for the first time in a long time, prayer is not the answer. Right? Medical is the answer. Human wisdom is the answer. Right? All of that stuff people are running to. The Bible is filled with stories like this where God asks the improbable to do the impossible. Right? So I love, because where you were on this whole thing was, look at what God asked Hosea to do.
Well, and that's the thing, and that's what, these guys are seeing at this moment. This isn't even about that yet. It's, okay, still, why would God ask someone to do this? What does this have to do with judgment coming? What does this have to do with his message to the people? Why would God do that with someone?
God is constantly living in my world, right? God loves giving application. He loves object lessons. I love God because he thinks like I think. In that way, and only that way. Everything else, God's ways are higher. But God, isn't it funny how God, he talks to us the way that we are talked to. There's some people can sit, they listen to a lecture, and they get tons of stuff out, and God just talks to them. That's not me, because I get stuck on word 5, and then I'm lost the rest of the time, right? But I walk in my barn, I walk in places, I see objects, I see things, and God goes, oh, Andy, look at this. Look at what you can do with this, right? God speaks to Hosea and says, listen, basically, here's my paraphrase. The words haven't been working. Right? Because this isn't the first warning. God's been warning and warning and warning and warning and warning.
Yeah, through other people.
Right? So now he goes the next step, much like he did with Jeremiah and others. He's like, let's do some object lessons. Maybe they'll get that.
See, I don't know. Like, probably, but how many people are going to see this guy's marriage to a hooker?
No.
Not all these people, but, like, I was reading last night in Isaiah, right, about the sleeping watchman, right? And I think, like, again, twofold of, yeah, people will see it. But again, then we're assuming they care enough to get it when they're not getting it already, right? They're not getting that the whole reason is because they have committed the whoredoms. They are worshiping the idols. They are doing all the sacrifices and all the things. They're doing all the wrong things. They're cheating on God and all this stuff. But, like, it affects the prophet. Like, it affects the prophet. Like, God needs the prophet to know the seriousness. Because if he just says, here's a word, give a word, okay, well, hopefully he listens and he does it. But I feel like when you feel it, right, when you know the feeling, you are far more urgent to press it on people, right? Stop. Just you look at the camera.
Doing some teaching now.
No, it's just you are far more urgent to do it,
really?
And you gotta stop.
So God wants.
You're messing me up.
No, because I got stuck.
No.
I got stuck, and then you answered it. It's really funny. I got stuck with who's the object lesson for? Because you and then you went on and explained it, right?
Because you'll turn into a sleeping watchman.
Exactly. So the object lesson is for the watchman to get the urgency of what he's seeing, right? So then the watchman can sound the alarm for the other people. So this whole object lesson wasn't for the people of Israel necessarily. It's for Hosea so that he can understand God better, can feel what God's feeling, can see what God's seeing, so then he can give the message out. Because the rest of Hosea is the message of God from this object lesson, is it not?
Right.
So people, do you think that God still works the same way today?
Yeah.
So it could be
of course he does.
So it could be that God is giving people an in-tuneness with him, just like you just explained.
For sure.
Right? So God is allowing them to feel things, see things, experience things that are going to be like, here's how I feel about this. So when you give the word out, you're giving it with this passion, with this understanding, with this stuff.
Well, yeah, and how many people have we talked to recently who are just like, I just feel blah. I just feel an overwhelming gloominess. I just feel an overwhelming heaviness. Like, why?
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 I'm expecting that you're going to answer that.
Because of this. Like, I mean, I'll take gloomy and heavy over marry a prostitute. So I'm glad I'll take that. But, like...
But is it funny that God has...
Because you can't do bold things. You can't do... It is bold. It is scary. It is crazy to get up in front of these people and be like, hey, thus saith the Lord, you're a bunch of whores. Literally, right? That's what he's saying. It's God's words. It's very graphic through parts of this, and it's serious. So to get up in front of all these people who sacrifice babies, you know, who could stone you and kill you and just throw you out, like, that's bold.
So God has to almost impart upon his messenger, his prophet.
You have to be terrified to do it.
But he has to impart a boldness, you just said, right? A clarity of message, because you have to give that out, right? But also an intensity.
Right.
Right? Like, hey, I really need you to get this. I really need... Like, Hosea did this 30 years. But I bet you day 1 and day 30, there's still an intensity, right? Of, you guys need to get this, you need to get this, you need to get this.
Well, yeah, because you know what's coming, and you know how angry God is when your wife goes back to sleeping with a bunch of guys. Right? You know how angry he is.
So how cool is it that God allows humans to feel what he's feeling so that he can keep others from going into the pit?
I don't know about cool. I mean, yeah, it's good.
How crazy is it that our God would allow us to feel what he's feeling and know what he's thinking at certain times?
It's crazy.
Is that not the
That's
revealing
crazy.
of the mysteries?
Yeah.
Is not the real ministry what is God thinking? Who is God? How? All of those things. So is it possible that in this season God is revealing the mysteries? We're waiting for words, right? But God is showing us. Here's how I feel. Here's how I think. here's what's going on. Is it possible that God ever gets blah, meh?
Yeah, why not?
It sounds like it, right? Like, I'm going to spit you out. Right? I'm done with you. I've had enough of this. Right? I've begged you. Right? But how amazing is it that we're looking for the mysteries of God to be revealed via words and books and all that kind of stuff. But sometimes God reveals the mystery. The mystery is, who is God? The mystery is, how does God feel? What is he thinking? What is he like? I want to know those things. Because again, way back at the beginning, Adam and Eve were challenged to be like God. I want to know God. So is it possible that somebody could say, I want to know God more, and God could be actually in the midst of a deep moment with them and they miss it because they're looking for words?
Yep.
It's possible.
That's why he said, my people shall perish for a lack of knowledge. It's not words. It's not always words.
So Job says, in the book of Job, it says, God speaks to people in different ways.
It's true.
Right?
You just have to learn how he speaks to you.
Really? Fantastic. That's fantastic. That's excellent.
But that takes a lot of work.
What do you mean?
It takes a lot of work. He doesn't just pull up a chair and sit and chat with you.
I don't know. Hosea got it the first time.
He definitely did. And Moses got a bush. But
And he did?
you have to... You have to seek him on that.
Yeah, you do. You have to seek him. You have to know what he's about. You have to know what he's doing. You have to know where he is, right? Which is, all of us have a different place. Where is he? Where do we find him? What do we do with him? Right? All of us are different in nature.
Yep.
Yep. All right. Are you going to continue on, or are we just going to leave it stuck there?
Do you want me to?
Yeah. Well, I don't even know how long we've been going. It seems like we've been going forever.
I don't know. Can you see that far?
No, I'm old. God's going to have to reveal it to me.
Okay. So he went and took Gomer, daughter of Diblaim, which conceived and bare him a son. The Lord said unto him, call his name Jezreel. For yet a little while, and I will avenge the blood of Jezreel upon the house of Jehu, and will cause to cease the kingdom of the house of Israel. And it shall come to pass at that day that I will break the bow of Israel in the valley of Jezreel. And she conceived again and bare a daughter. And God said unto him, call her name Lo-Ruhamah, for I will no more have mercy upon the house of Israel, but I will utterly take them away. But I will have mercy upon the house of Judah, and will save them by the Lord their God, and will not save them by bow, nor by sword, nor by battle, by horses, nor by horsemen. Now when she had weaned Lo-Ruhamah, she conceived and bare a son. Then God said, call his name Lo-Ami, for you are not my people, and I will not be your God. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured for numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, you are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, you are the sons of the living God. Okay, we're going to stop.
Wow.
Because it's very confusing.
Go.
It's literally the last sentence. He said, you are not my people, and I will not be your God. And now he is saying, where I told you that, I'm going to say you are the sons of God. So, like, that's mega confusing to people, right? And we've talked about this a ton.
Okay.
Because it's like, what's the point? You know, what's the point of all this? And why would people be scared, right? If they see this and they're like, okay, well, you're gonna essentially let us off the hook is how you could look at that, right? You could say, okay, well, it might be bad, but you're gonna save us.
Yep.
So, I don't know.
So, again, when we look at this, it's what gives us confidence in God, right?
Again, it's knowledge and not knowing the middle.
God made Abraham a covenant, right? And he swore upon himself, not upon Abraham, which is super important. It means God cannot break it, right? He can't break it because he swore upon himself. It has nothing to do with Abraham, what Abraham does, right? it had to do with Abraham was obedient. He got rewarded with a big time contract, right? Right? A non-refundable contract.
Father of Israel.
So God, seemingly, the confusion comes because the people have nullified the covenant a bazillion times, right? They're not following, they're not doing it, they're not, and God's frustrated with them. And so he's going to turn them over to discipline, right? Judgment, right? For this. But at the same time, he is bound to his covenant, right?
But so are they. So this is the lack of knowledge part. Because we sit and we think like, oh, if I could get through the bad time, right? Because, I mean, how many people even have you heard about talking about the tribulation? Like, they want to go through it because they're, like, going to be a hero. Yep. I'm like, you're an idiot, okay? Like, it's just not... If I can get through the bad time, then God will make everything okay. And the knowledge part, the thing they're missing, the thing they don't know is it's another if-then. Yep. Right? It's like, yes, of course I'll restore you if you want it. Yeah. Again, not fire insurance if you want it, but like if you actually repent. Yep. If you actually make it through this, if you make it through it, because whatever it is, sometimes you die and sometimes you don't have a choice anymore. Sometimes he gives you 30 years and that's it. Yep. But if you make it through it and you repent and you do all these things, then he'll restore you. Yep. But that's it. Like it's not like, well, you know, I'm just like God's on this roller coaster for fun.
It's not like this rubber band thing where God gets to shoot you
He's
off
like,
his
well,
mouth
every
take it back.
20 years I'm just gonna do this. Like
no, and ultimately this doesn't get settled until the end times, right? This doesn't get settled until judgment, where there are people, there is a remnant that is going to be called from God. You know, like they're going to get it, they're going to repent, they're going to come back. Like that matters greatly, right? But
well, and the next verse he talks about they shall that they'll come back together and they'll appoint themselves one head. That just happened. Yep. Yep. Like years ago.
Yeah, so you're looking at this whole thing. This is where, again, you get into all kinds of prophecy and get into all kinds of end time stuff and all of those things, right? And that's what makes it confusing, is God is saying, hey, listen, I'm going to get rid of you in this spot, but I know the beginning from the end and all that stuff. So I know that you're going to come back to this spot, right? We're going to get a redo here, right? And that's because of God giving a redo. Right? I think that happens all the time. Think about people who are in love with Jesus, right? They're in love with Jesus, they're serving him, and something happens and they fall away. 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years down the road, what happens? They come back to the Lord. And seemingly, God picks up almost where he left off. Like, hey, here's where you were with me.
That's what I said about Abraham.
Yeah, let's go forward. Yeah.
Let's when he took Lot. Yeah. Like, okay, are you ready now? Like, how many years did you waste? Like, and it is exactly, you literally see God's promise, Abraham go off course, and then God picks up with the same, he says the same exact thing. It's like, you could literally see it. He's like, okay, so remember what I said? Now can we go? Like, yeah, God's got all the time in the world. I keep saying that. Like, we don't. We're the ones on the clock.
Yeah, and God's highway of life, there are lots of rest stops that we choose to take, right? Very few to none of them are God's, right? He wants us to keep running the race in a way to win. If you want to win a race, you don't stop and pause. No. Right?
You pee your pants. You don't stop at the porta potty.
Exactly. That's right.
Okay, the runners know what I mean.
Right. No, you keep going if you want to win the race. You have to do whatever it takes. Yep. Right? You just know. You know that. But we make every rest area godly in nature. Because again, will God meet us in those moments? Sure. Yeah. All throughout the New Testament. It was not God's plan. So Jesus gets in the boat with the disciples, right? He falls asleep, storm comes up. It's not Jesus' plan, hey, I'm going to fall asleep and then I want you to wake me up and I'll show you that I'm God again. Right? His plan was, and he chastised the disciples for not having faith. His plan was, no, you should just know you're with God. You should know you're with me and it's all going to be okay. Whether or not the storm calms or the storm keeps going, you should just know.
Right. Like he's going to fall asleep and the waves are going to take him all.
Right.
Like come on.
Right. Don't you care that we're going to perish is what they asked him. Yeah. Don't you care we're going to drown? And Jesus like,
are you ridiculous?
Duh. Right. You should know. You should just know. We don't have to take a pause. We don't have to take a stop. We don't have to take a break. we need to get through this. But everything about breaks makes sense to us. Think of how many times people say to you and I think I need a break in this. I need a break from my job, my relationships, if I could just get a break, if I could just get a vacation, if I could just get away from it. And kids like, no. I mean, imagine if Jesus, halfway through his ministry, went like, I just kind of need a break, and went back to heaven. Right? For 30 days and just left the disciples trying to figure out, where do you go? And then he comes back and goes, all right, I'm rested up, let's go.
Yeah.
No, Jesus did get away.
Took his moment.
To pray.
Right.
He got away. That's where we get it.
Right.
But he didn't stop being Jesus for a moment or take a rest.
Nope.
Or a vacation.
And he never told people to go away.
He didn't,
and
right?
They chased him down.
I think of all the people who have gotten frustrated because they're on vacation and they still have to be who God wanted them to be. Right? It drives people crazy. You know, like I sit on the beach and I was trying to relax with my family and somebody came up to me and they started talking to me about Jesus and, you know, all that stuff. And I had to work. And you're like, no, you should have just been. Right? And how is it that maybe that guy was waiting for you to come for years? Maybe that guy's been waiting around, right, for that to happen, right?
Yeah.
But you look at this story and you see, you know, that first of all, God is purposeful in nature. But again, in the Jewish culture, names are so important, right? And so God gave Hosea names. Now again, are people going to go, that's a weird name, you know, as they were a kid? But
yeah, they're horrible.
But they're probably not going to stop and go, oh no. But Hosea had to live with these kids. Hosea had the message 24/7 about how God was feeling and what God was thinking, right? That's different than a lot of the other prophets, a lot of the other people that God used, right? Mm-hmm. God used people in different ways, but what about the person that God says, no, you're going to be a living, breathing, 24/7 testimony of how I'm feeling and thinking? I'm guessing that person's feeling overwhelmed a lot.
Tired
a lot. Sad a lot.
Angry.
Angry a lot. You seem to know a lot about this.
It just makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes...
If I was God, I'd be angry right now.
Yeah. And so does it make sense?
And sad and all the things.
So a prophet who's really in tune with God in this time period probably is doing a little bit of crying, a little bit of anger mixed in there, a little bit of frustration, a little bit of disappointment, a little bit of coming across as if maybe a little judgmental in nature, right? Not a lot of laughing, not a lot of giddiness when you're feeling what God is feeling. Listen, God is about ready to bring judgment.
Yep, I've been saying that for months. And no one's listening.
God doesn't get
kind of sounds familiar.
God doesn't get giddy about it, right?
No.
So again, it could very well be that those people who are walking close to God, that he really wants to be messengers for him. First of all, they need to know exactly what he's feeling. The best, it's funny, the best advocates are people who walk closely with the people, right, that they're advocating for, so that when they talk, they know. Right? I think it's funny at press briefings, right? You put this lady or this man up in front of people and you say, hey, they're going to speak for the president, right? Mm-hmm. And frequently they'll get questioned and be like, well, I got to go check on that. I don't know how we feel about that, right? But every once in a while you run into a situation where you look at somebody talking for somebody else and you're like, golly, like they know that person. Like
they know them better than they know themselves.
Exactly, right? So if God is putting people together to work together, it makes sense that he would do that, right? He would say, like, you guys are a team. You need to know each other, right?
Yeah.
In backwards and forwards, right? Because it's possible to be a team. It's possible to be together with people and not know them very well.
Oh, yeah,
right?
For
You're
sure.
just working with them.
Modern day marriage.
Yeah. Yep. But he also, if God is really, really going to speak through someone, it seems to me like he would have that person in tune with not only his words, they know the Bible, but they get the intensity of the feeling behind God, right? And then again, it's up to people to respond. Some people are looking at people and going, don't get it, right? Yeah. Some people are going, yeah, I was worried about that 2 years ago and it didn't happen.
Yeah, it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
It's never going to happen in my lifetime because see how long God takes. Well, guess what, buddy? If that's your attitude, you're still going to perish, just in a different way.
Yeah. So
right?
I have learned a lot so far, and we haven't even really started. So I think probably you should wrap up this because we've given them a lot to think about.
Yeah, we did a whole first chapter.
Yeah, you taught a lot.
Wrap it up.
Yep. This is where you look at the camera and you tell the people what they need to hear.
Well, they need to hear a lot.
Go.
But, I mean, I don't know. Don't perish for a lack of knowledge. You got to know God. You got to know God. And don't worry about looking at prophets and people and all the things. But, like, when you hear stuff, pray about it. Like, you just got to pray about it. Because there's a lot of people saying a lot of things all the time. There were false prophets then. There's false prophets now. There's people throwing a lot of things out there. But you have to be in tune with God on your own. And, like, that's the moral of the story is all these things you wouldn't understand. You wouldn't believe that God would have someone marry a prostitute. You wouldn't believe that God would have somebody feel something. You wouldn't believe that someone would go around telling people, you know, these kind of things, and that's from God. You just wouldn't believe it if you didn't know God. So, Friday nighters, spend tonight and tomorrow and the next day getting to know God. And all the ways. Pray a lot. Read your Bible. Stop listening to people. Just pray and read your Bible. Yeah. It's really all you got to do. And he'll lead you to the right voices if need be. But you really only need his. And then figure out how he talks to you. Because it's probably going to be different.
Amen.
Than everybody else.
And be okay with that.
Yeah, be okay with it. And if you start feeling gloomy, don't go to a doctor. Just pray about it. Might be a God thing. Medicine can't fix it. Sorry. Okay, Andy, I guess
It sounds
we'll
good
come
to
back
me.
next week and we'll talk about judgment.
Perfect.
More judgment. Yay.
People are
how
excited.
Exciting.
Can't wait for Friday.
Friday night judgment. Yippee.
Ooh, maybe we should change the name again. Friday Night Judgment with Jesus. That would
no
really
one will
get
watch
people's attention.
Fearmongers.
Got it.
Yep, that's us. All right, guys. Have a great weekend. We love you. Bye.